long has it been, Vic?
Since I've walked on this property, not that long ago, because Dave and Marla were working here for the last group, so it was only about 3 or 4 years ago. And it's still operating.
Wow, they've changed it. But that wasn't the way you got onto it.
No. You went straight up.
You went straight up, and then there was two rooms off
So
of
they
it.
filled in, they added closets, looks like probably closets, so. Boy, this tree got big, didn't it?
Fuck yeah.
Oh, shit.
I remember we used to play underneath it.
That's right, because it was right down the
Yeah,
ground.
it was right on the ground. We used to play underneath it.
Now, was that the Laurels up over here?
This is the
This is the
Laurel.
Laurel.
This is the Laurels, and the one over
That's
here?
the patio.
The patio,
Well, the
thank-
annex was down here. That's gone.
Yeah, no, that's been gone for a long time. Long time that was torn down. Max and Annette tore that down. These old willows, these all died.
Yeah, yeah. Those were great old willows, weren't they?
And they're the garage doors, the scene of my...
I seem to remember throwing rocks at boxes of glasses in there and having some glass hit somebody in the eye.
I don't remember that. It might have happened.
Let's see if Mom remembers that.
Swings are still up. Well, want to make the foray inside? So we can get arrested
Yeah.
for trespassing? The question is which door? Now we're talking. You said the kitchen or the... And evaluating what had to be done to make these things viable.
And your estimation here is
What should have been done a long time ago, burn it.
the main dining room.
When I get the kitchen.
Oh.
What's in there?
The lobby.
There's the pantry.
Well, yeah.
What used to be the pantry?
Completely reconfigured.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, where's the big coffee urns? Jim Lucas used to hang around and spill coffee.
However, this door is still here, folks.
Pantry door's still here, too. No, this was the pantry going into the kitchen.
Oh, Jesus!
Into the...
There's my dishwasher!
You gotta see this.
What?
Bill Cruikshank.
He's in there?
He's mummified.
Oh, damn.
How amazing is this? Scene of our transgressions, huh? You ever walk in this
Yeah, we're gonna all die of air poisoning.
Oh, downstairs, huh?
Yeah.
Did you ever go into that basement?
Well, this is where the whatchamacallit.
Oh, this thing.
The coffee shop, the pool table?
See, Vic, this was the old kitchen.
No, this was the gift shop.
This was
The gift shop.
old kitchen, Sasha and Sarah's kitchen.
And this is the bathroom I used to throw up in while Timmy was holding my station.
The gift shop was here.
Right.
Yeah. The shul. Oh my God, how A desecration.
No, this is my coffee shop. No, no coffee shop.
That's exactly what we'll call it in this photo. The coffee shop.
I just don't remember being windows here.
They weren't.
Oh, okay, good.
This hillside was much higher. Unbelievable. Well, the swings are still there.
And the piano.
And the piano. And nope, they tore down the old arts and crafts shack and put up a yurt. The pool I don't even want to look at.
Yeah, they tore down the handball court too.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so sad.
But the swings are still there.
Remember
The
stage?
scene of the party.
Yeah, stage door left, stage door right.
Right. There was also room off the
Miller,
Summer of Peace and Love.
Summer of Steve Miller, and Waiting for the Sun by the Doors.
Yep.
And he stormed out. And I'm standing there starting, trying to do the things that I had to do in the dining room, and it's like my mind went blank. I simply couldn't focus on it. And I realized what had just happened. I said, oh my God. I said, I can't live with this. And I went out and I found Larry on the swings, crying. And he and I sat down, I can't even talk about it.
Oh.
We did this.
It's the last time we fought.
About anything.
About anything.
I mean, he's been such an asshole, and I've left him alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Vice
And
versa.
he deserved so much more.
I could have said things so many times, but I let it slip. I let it slide. No, actually, that's not true. No. That is not true.
Not true at all.
The fact is that we haven't fought. I don't think we've as much as really argued.
We haven't.
Since then. When was that? I was maybe
You were 17,
18
years
years old. You know?
It was like an epiphany for me,
And it,
because
and,
I used to beat up on him mercilessly.
But he
And-
deserved it.
No, he didn't deserve it.
no, I was
a
just
jerk.
his younger brother. I
Oh.
didn't
My younger
deserve
brother.
that shit. He just hit me for no reason because I bugged him.
See, now I'm trying to think, did Mark ever beat the crap out of me? I don't think so.
Now, you guys and Mark had different issues.
Yeah.
Still do.
Tell
And
him-
we used to come here and look for salamanders
And fossils.
And turtles.
turtles.
This is my favorite little stream.
We used to be in here all day long looking for
Stuff.
lizards and crap.
It used to be, in fact, back when this was really running okay before it got polluted, you still see minnows in there. There used to be trout up there.
Really?
There were big deeper pools up there, and there were trout, good-sized trout in there.
And that's the bungalow that Sharon and I stayed at. Looking in great shape.
And that's the stone house.
This is where Sarah and I stayed in 1971 when we came back from Ithaca. I didn't want to do it. I loved Ithaca, but she couldn't stand the humidity.
Holy shit!
What's that?
Sam Stone's bungalow colony.
Yeah.
Now, is someone living here? Cars and shit.
Is there a car here?
Yeah.
Yeah, they turned the other house, the staff house into a. You know, I remember this one was Sam Stone's, and they had a guy that used to work here. They're Jim Lucas.
Yeah, version of Lucas, huh?
It wasn't Ivan, it was something like that. He was also Russian to Ukrainian. And my grandmother always said, he's a peasant, because he would take a leak in the bathroom with the door open.
Yes. That room on top.
Second from the right.
Is that the one where I had the stash of beer, empty beer cans?
Second from the right, and then we were in the back.
In the back.
Across the hallway.
Yep.
Yep, home sweet home for many summers.
Yep. And the barn.
Joni Reinmuth
Yep.
I've had enough.
Yeah. Hold on a second.
My name is Karen Smith. I started going to Chaits as a child with my parents, then for years and years and years. And then in 63, 64, and 65, I was there. 63, I worked as with the children, the infants and toddlers by this tree with Enid Sippen. Then I was a counselor, and the last year I was there, I worked in the children's dining room, and the men were very mean to me. In the adults' dining room, and I was always the last one out because I had to wash my own glasses and dishes, as well as bus and serve, and that's what I remember. And there was a lot of fooling around in those days. A lot of fooling around.
Anyone in particular?
I'm not saying.
Thank you, Karen.
I'm Meryl
Levy.
Smith. I was there exactly the same years, 63, 64, 65. We came up not only in the summer, but in the winter.
In the winter.
And we would toboggan down the lake.
Down the
and we
peninsula.
would all sleep, 5 or 6 of us, in a bed in the rec room. What do you call that? I first worked also with the little babies, with Rhea, and
her mother Blanche.
then I worked in the dining room 2 years. The kitchen people were crazy, insane. I remember an incident
With a knife, Mac.
and I am just knocked out and crazy to see all these people again.
Thank you.
Jessie Traum, born in 1946, the first year that I went to Chaits. My mother and Annette were best friends, so I went every year from the time I was a little kid. Worked summer of 1964 as a counselor, and that's the deal, right?
I never saw him again. Whether, I'm not sure if they
Anything that you care to share of a personal nature?
Just that Chaits was a second home to me. some of the people that I met have been lifelong friends, and that's a gift.
I don't want to say that. My son showed me a movie about idiocracy, and he says, I'm not sure, and they print that on his arm.
Go ahead.
All right. Hi, I'm Maria Getzels. I think I was at Chaits 63, 64. How I got there, I'm not sure, but my mother worked in the day camp, and she was hired by Sid Weniger. And I really loved it here. It's one of my fondest memories of my life. And I'm sorry my parents couldn't be here to see it.
Say when.
Go.
I'm Renee Traum, and I've been coming to Chaits since I was born, basically. And I lived here, basically, most of my life, on and off for many, many, so many years. And this is and Max and Annette are my parents to me. And I treasure every memory that I have of this amazing thing. Wonderful life.
Saved by the Max.
I can't do it.
I'll do it for you.
I'm not there. Tony will do it for me.
My name's Tony Klein, and I came to work at Chaits in the summer of 1965, fresh out of high school graduation, and worked in the downstairs coffee shop, and met everybody that's here, and came back for another summer in 1966, and worked in the salad bar, or whatever it was called at that point, and it was two of the best summers of my entire life, and one of my tasty, what are they called?
Tidbits.
Tidbits is sitting right next to me here.
You're not supposed to tell our story.
I'm not telling us that, I just,
You do have the opportunity to counter in case there's any indiscrepancies here.
Is it rolling, Bob? And Renee, in 1965, when was I think 14 or 15 years old, and for a little while there we became smitten, I guess, with each other. And the wonderful part is that this is the first time I'm seeing Renee in 43 years, and she's as
And I'm
wonderful.
still gorgeous.
She's as wonderful as she ever was.
And modest, too.
And
And
not
modest.
always.
And I think she had excellent taste back then.
And the best part is that even though we haven't seen each other in 43 years, we both live in the state of Vermont, which we did not know. So now that we're reunited, we can have a fresh up and enjoy each other's company for many, many years to come.
And the funny part is that after spending 2 highly immoral summers at Chaits Hotel, I attained status of being honorable in the state of Vermont, as I now serve in the House of Representatives as a state representative.
And I have no comment.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Rich Farkas. I worked at Chaits 1965 and 1966. I got here through Harold and Lillian Klein, Tony Klein's parents, who were bungalow people. They were the Croton contingent who came up here and drank forever and ever. In 1965, Tony and I ran the coffee shop. We were hoodwinked into it, but we still had a great time. In 1966, Tony and I both worked in the kitchen. I was a salad and breakfast chef, and it was formative for me because I spent the rest of my career in kitchens as a chef and mostly as a pastry chef. And I remember all these years, and it was terrific, and it's great seeing all these guys again.
Yeah, I'm Mark Levy, and I'm thrilled to be back here. This was a place where you grew up. This is a place I spent every year from the age of 3 to 16 at Chaits. 3 of them working the dishwasher. That wasn't great. But it's a place where you grew up. My first sexual experiences were here. We have any? Yes. we have any candidates in the room? Maybe. And
That's actually the purpose of this party.
it's okay.
To go over some old history.
Exactly true. And it was just one of those places in your life that made me who I am. I am a tour guide now in New York City. I run Levy's Unique New York, New York's first family of tour guides. Here we are, which I run with my 3 sons. There we go. And we are the best tour guides in New York, and we have a great time doing it. I live in Brooklyn. in a big house that they filmed The Savages in, the movie The Savages. Filmed in my house 2 years ago. I love gardening. I'm involved in Sustainable Flatbush, which is an environmental organization in my neighborhood. And I have a wonderful life. I have a really wonderful, good life, and I'm very happy about it. And I'll tell you more later.
Hi, I'm Josh Sippen. I'm really glad to follow Mark Levy in his little spiel because I just had the pleasure of hearing that Mark had a very erotic experience with my sister Kathy. Thank you, Mark, for helping me out with that. Apparently my sister Kathy took her top off for Mark, and this was very exciting. Now, the interesting thing about this is that my sister Kathy is living in North Carolina, and she said one thing to me. She said, "Tell me if Mark Levy comes." So, my sister Kathy, who had a huge crush on Mark, and he apparently had a huge crush on her, is going to be very thrilled to hear about this. Now to me. Okay. So I kind of consider myself part of the woodwork here. For, apologies to anybody that wants to think otherwise. We lived in Kingston, and my father Julie was the head waiter at Chaits for a million years. My sisters Ian and Kathy were counselors and waitresses and whatever. I went north. I was a counselor and a busboy and a lifeguard and a waiter and a groundskeeper and everything at Solway House. This was the competition. However, being very good friends of the Finestones, I've been kind of part of the network here. I did work in the hotel a few times as a waiter, a couple of New Year's weekends, whatever. And this is really my home in many ways. I still have Thanksgiving here every year with Laura and Lisa and Max and Annette, with my father and assorted people. And I'm glad to be here and to see some people who I'm remembering, and it's just good to be a part of this. So, thanks.
Hold on.
Hi, I'm Marilyn. I worked at Chaits from 1959 to 1964. And right now I'm living in Monticello. I've been living there for the last 35 years. Semi-retired, loving every minute of it. Thank you.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Max Finestone, and I'm here under protest. I really didn't want to have this gathering, and I don't know why we allowed this. I hope it never happens again, and I'm thinking of leaving, as a matter of fact, and going into Kingston and taking in a good movie. I'd probably get chastised by my wife and daughters if I did that. So I guess I have to suffer, stay here for the rest of it. What time is this going to be over? Can you give me some kind of a time frame? So anyway, my wife, Annette, my wife and I used to own a hotel. A lot of these people work there. Although I think many of these people here are in Boston. I don't think they ever worked at a hotel. And I don't think they should be here. I think it's I really feel very resentful because I tried to get something to drink. It was all gone. I tried to get some of the nice hors d'oeuvres. Sorry. And if some of these people who aren't supposed to be here weren't here, then I would be able to get something to drink that I wanted. They offered some of the nice things to eat that I wanted. What can I do? I'm stuck. I'm not going to leave. Don't tell anybody I said it. I appreciate you. I appreciate being able to take you into my confidence.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Paul Friedlander, and I was a busboy in 1962. And I started off as a busboy in 63, but Richie Walter, who was my waiter, switched, and I became a waiter for Third Station in 63. And it was that year that we started the Side Towels with myself and Richie and Chucky Beeler. Chucky did not make it through the end of the year, and I live in California, in Chico, California, where I'm a professor of music at California State University in Chico.
Any tasty tidbits?
Oh, many tasty tidbits. Let's see. In 1962, my best friend was Jack, and Jack was a dishwasher, and we had one day off. So Jack and I got in his Morris Minor. We drove to Cape Cod. We fell asleep on the beach for a couple hours. We turned around, we drove home. That was our only day off in 1962.
Okay. Hi. I'm Neil. I worked at Chaits from 1965 till the bitter end, 78. And I was a garbage man and a busboy and a bellhop. No, garbage man, then bellhop, and then busboy, children's waiter, main dining room busboy, and then waiter. And I actually was the head waiter when Big Clem decided to quit or leave. I now live in California, which is far away, and I live with my wife and 2 children. And I moved to California 30 years ago, and here we are. And what else should I talk about? My life would never be the same if it wasn't for today, for this party today. And it was really nice to see all these people, some of whom I remember.
My name's Julie Ross, and I was good friends, I still am, good friends with Laura. I've known her since high school, and then I got roped into working at Chaits.
I know, I said it last
I started out helping Margie clean rooms.
I've been walking around saying
Margie, Margie, who had like no teeth and or something resembling.
No, she was like 30 years ago.
Oh, I forgot all about that.
Yeah, right. And her method for cleaning the toilets was you stick your hand in the bowl with a rag. So I don't remember whether I don't think I did that. I think I chose a different method.
I don't know if I want to call that a tasty tidbit.
That was my first job, and then I moved up to the dining room. Luckily, not on the same day. I worked in the kitchen. I worked in the pantry, and I made. I'm not Jewish, and I made pickled herring. Herring and cream sauce. I learned how to be Jewish, in appearance, or at least what they eat. And then I got a job in the dining room, and I was, probably the world's worst waitress. I spilled coffee on a guest one time because he raised up his hand and it went all over his lap. And let's see. Okay, used to get high in the staff house.
No.
Laura and I used to go in the one of those buildings, where the rooms, like if there was nobody in the room, we would go in there. We get so stoned we couldn't get off the bed. So I'm not sure if I should be talking about that, but. And some of my fondest memories. Well, I used to enjoy. They had the classical musicians that would come, and I would hang out with them. That was fun. And I loved all the artwork, and just loved all the stuff about Chaits. And I don't know. What else can I say? And I loved all the people. The people were great. So this is a good idea. I'm glad I was.
I was born in a little log cabin, and then I developed a speech defect when I started eating crackers. And after the cracker phase, I finally began to find my voice, and then it came. So anyway, what do you want to know?
Who are you?
I'm Carl Finger. I live in Monterey, Massachusetts, and I have crackers in my mouth. And it's a little town about 900. I have 40 acres on a mountainside next to a lake with a huge garden, and it's lovely there, and you're really lucky I'm here. It's so beautiful there. I just never want to leave. And what I do is I take people on tours around the world on a folklore basis. We meet with the local people, dance and sing. I'm a guitarist and singer. I'm still doing folk dancing. I've been with my partner Carol for 7 years now. And anything else particular?
When did you work at Chaits? What were you doing at Chaits? Yeah.
Chaits.
Remember that
was
place?
Chaits. I just heard there was free food here. And I came to teach Eva. Is it Eva? What? Eva. Yeah, Eva mandolin. But no. I was social director. I think I was sort of weaseled into it, but I guess I was social director for a whole bunch of years after Jim Gold. And then I ran folk dance weekends there. I brought people up, and we had the whole hotel for 30, 40, 80 people for a folk dance weekend where we did music and guitar and so on. I hired the hotel. And I also was in boxing matches with Max. You know, we went out in the middle of the night, and we had some wrestling matches, and I got bitten by a snake once when he was lying on top of me, and things like that. Who did I go up? Who did I go up to? We went up. Oh yeah, what's the guy's name? Oh, never mind. I won't say it here, and I don't remember. But we went up to the dump area, and we took these long sticks. We carved long sticks and put crab apples on them. And, you can whip and you can throw them a couple, 1,000 feet. So we went out there. I'm not proud of this really, and we were lobbing crab apples down onto the people by the swimming pool. And if it really hits in the bad place, it can be kind of bad. But that's one of my favorite memories. So. There's lots of things, but I don't remember everything. I know that one winter I tackled my stepson Will on the ice skating rink, and he fell on my head, and it broke my nose for the third time, and Mark Belsky was there, and he said, well, why don't you get a nose job? So I ended up getting a nose job. Otherwise, I'd look even more handsome. And I don't know. You should ask questions. I don't know what to say.
I just want people to
Anyway, actually, though, driving up the road this time, I started to tear up a little. I've been up here a couple of times, but just sort of thinking this is a reunion and looking at Chaits and the condition it's in and all the memories coming back. It was a great place. It was a great place, and a lot of fun, a lot of good people, and a lot of history. And Max and I did a great job. Yeah, it's a whole history, and it's nice to be here.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, I'm Lisa Nadelson Allen. Vic tells me I worked at Chaits in 1962. So I don't remember too much or too many people. I do remember the girls' dorm and spending lots of hours teaching children how to swim and then being corrected by their parents who told me I was doing things wrong. But I do remember having great times to come home back to New York and tell everybody what a wonderful life I had at Chaits for the summer. That's it.
I worked at Chaits for 45 minutes behind the desk in the office, and when Max discovered I couldn't possibly translate the word petty cash into any activity that he understood, I had 2 vegetarian meals from the kitchen, and after the second vegetarian meal, I considered that qualified me to come to the reunion.
Name?
Oh, and my name is Joan Max Reinmuth, and the year was
60-something.
60-something.
Right. Anything else? Where you live now? Or?
And I live in Saugerties, and have lived in Saugerties, and see Max and Annette in their wonderful political work, and have done a lot of community work supporting much of the same causes that Max and Annette, and that we're lucky enough to still have supporting.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm John LeMay. It's very nice to be here. I worked from the late 60s into the early 70s. The question mark is the operative character here in my name tag, because I'm not quite sure when I worked. And if I were to tell you what I did, it would be a lot of things, but no one thing. But once again, I'm grateful that this was possible so we can see each other.
I'm Mark Moskowitz. I worked part of the summer in 62. I worked 63, 64, 65, and 66. I worked winters, Christmas, Thanksgiving, any holiday that Max would call me up, I'd be up here. It was a transforming period in my life as well as the other people who worked on the staff all those years. It's wonderful to be here, and it's a place very close to my heart.
Hi, I'm Barbara Van Allen. When I worked here, I was Barbara Countryman. I was married to a local man, and I was a young mother. We had 2 children the same age age as Max and Annette, 2 and 4 years old, when we work here.
Not so nice. Congratulations.
58. I've been in touch with Max and Annette ever since. We've been friends. They visit us, and I live in Arizona now. And got into Scrabble 25 years ago. The magazine. My husband and I we do part-time travel agents and Scrabble directors, so I go all over the world. Cruises and put together Scrabble cruises and cruise all over the world in our retirement. So it's really nice to be here and see some of the people I remember. Mostly Max and Annette and Dick and my brother worked here briefly in the cantina when I was in the office. So he's here too. He lives in Kingston. I'm in Arizona.
Okay.
Thank you.
My name is Sheldon Lewis Engelberg. Wait, no. My name's Larry Goldsmith. Larry Goldsmith. And what's the rest of it?
Like, what's your relationship here?
Okay,
the years?
my relationship here is that I was born in Kingston, and I started working here when I was 3 days old because they needed a kitchen man. And Sasha and Sarah Chait were my grandparents. And Annette and Max were my aunt and uncle. And that's my relationship. I'm family. I started actually working here. Well, the first thing I did here was, as a, sort of foil to Stanley Myron Handelman. And I worked in the children's dining room, and I worked as a bellhop, and I worked as a handyman, and I worked as a busboy, and I worked as a waiter, and I made salads, and I washed dishes, and I washed pots, and what else did I? Oh, I was a gigolo. No, that was somebody else. That was my brother. I think that's. Oh no, I ran the. I did emceeing of the talent shows at times. I ran the front desk at times. I couldn't swim, so I was not anything having to do with swimming. I don't think I ever counseled. That's about it.
Any tasty tidbits that you care to share?
Yes, I have lots of tasty tidbits. None of them can I share. They all involve the person behind the camera, and he would not want me to say what my tasty tidbits are about him. So.
Thank you for your contribution.
Yeah, there you go. No, actually, we were roommates for a number of summers. I don't know how many, but it was 3 or 4
3 or 4.
5, yeah. And what else? Tasty tidbits. No, no, I can't say that one. There was no, I can't talk about that one. That's about it.
Thank you, Larry.
Okay.
Al Aversano. I started working, I believe it was about 1958, 57. I think I was about 16 years old. And actually this was my first job working. My father would bring me over and drop me off about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and he'd pick me up around 10, 11 o'clock at night. And one of the great experiences was that I met Annette and Max. And I really had a great working relationship with them. It was really great being a young kid, working the first time in a hotel. And also, I had a great relationship with Mac McGill and Bev, which are really 2 great people. And I haven't seen them. I'm sorry they're not here, really. And Mac and I used to play ping pong in between breakfast and lunch. I even forgot where the table was in the hotel, somewhere in the back room somewhere. I even forgot. But we became good friends. We went out after that, after work and things, and we had a very good relationship together. And and it was a great way to start my career in the hotel business. And, it just started from there, and from there it just moved on a couple of years, 2 or 3 years later, and was really an experience as a young person that really enjoyed the experience of working here. Really good. And I really appreciate Max and Annette for hiring me at the time. I was working on a farm. I had to make a few bucks to survive, and it was good. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
You ready?
Yes, thank you.
Go.
You rolling?
Rolling.
Hi, I'm Risa Jaroslav. I worked at Chaits definitely the summer of '63 and maybe '62. I'm not sure. I was a waitress. I was in the children's dining room. And one
With
of
Neil?
with
Neil?
don't remember.
Neil Linden?
I just remember that Marilyn was it, like the one to emulate. Yes, I saw her, I spoke to her. And one of my memories of waitressing in the children's dining room was coming out with a birthday cake for a kid with sparklers. And the sparks were flying off the thing onto my arm, sort of burning me. And I was in tears, just feeling totally overwhelmed by this. It was one of the better memories. And that summer, I earned money that I needed to spend the next summer at the American Dance Festival, the summer of '64. Yeah, it was a great experience. I lied about my age to get the job. Now I can tell. Yeah, I'm sure I was there 2 summers, because one summer I was a counselor. So it must have been '62 and '63. One summer I was a counselor, I was a waitress. I was dancing then. I've continued to dance for my whole life. I have a company that's based in New York. I'm still working. We perform in the city, in the country.
I'm not even going to look. I'll just wait for you.
Community-based work. I love what I do. I feel blessed to be able to do what I do. I've been married to the same great guy for 41 years. I have a 31-year-old and an 18-year-old. The math is kind of weird, but that's the truth. And 2 delicious granddaughters.
Thank you. Rolling.
Keith, Terry, waiter, counselor, and sometimes Keith's bus girl.
But I got good tips.
62 to 66. My favorite part, Sunday afternoon.
You're on.
This place was my family. I was here from the time I was 11 till I was 21. Okay? A lot of the people here came here because I brought them here. But the real person that brought all of us here was Jed Bauman. That's how I met you guys, and there was a lot of people that aren't here that we lost, including my brother. But it's great to see everyone.
Hey, I'm Ron Moskowitz, and I work at Chaits from about '64 to '78. Richard and I ran the snack bar. First year we were commandeered into doing it when someone had a heart attack and died, I think. And graduated into dishes and then pots. I apprenticed as garbage man, kids' dining room, lifeguard one summer. Then finally I wound up doing salads toward the end of the Chaits era. It's been swell, it's been a sweet ride. Unfortunately, everybody's gotten so freaking old except for myself and my twin brother. The only thing that is that I'm afraid that one of these days there will not be any more Chaits aside from us. Thanks. Have a good time.
Well, I'm Laura. Richie says everybody's going to know who I am, but I don't know if that's true or not. And let me see. I lived and worked at Chaits from 1954 till forever and did everything. And I'm Max and Annette's daughter, and what else is there to say? As he said, I'm the boss's daughter.
Born at Chaits. Brought up here in 1920 or so. And it was always a little hotel. It was a farm. It was a hotel. And when Max and I took over, we enriched it. And we cultivated a staff unequal in the whole area. And they're all here today. And I'm overwhelmed.
Go.
Hi, I'm Gary Johnson. I worked at Chaits principally as a waiter and a busboy from 1960 until one day my wife said, I really think you ought to stop. And it was probably 15 or so years later. I really loved it. Had a great time. Learned a lot about food, especially eating it. And
like the rest of us.
It's just great to be here. It's really a wonderful, wonderful thing that everybody has done. So that's pretty much it. Hello, everyone. And I'll see you again in hopefully before 40 years.
You ready?
Go.
Am I ready?
You're ready.
My name is Vic Goldsmith. And I've been here since 1945 in one fashion or another. I started working at Chaits in the concession right off the old casino porch. And it was my first real job except for my paper route, and I ate up all the profits. Started working the dining room in 1961. Julie Sippen was my first waiter. Danny Wecker also was my waiter, and then Richie Aaron. And I was here almost till closing, and this whole thing came about in part because of the Greenberg brothers, who told Mark Moskowitz that we really ought to get together, and Mark told me, and I finally had some time on my hands, and so I started to do it. And look at this. I mean, is this fun or what? Does life get much better than this? Yes! Anyway, it's great. Really enjoying it.
Ready? Hi, I'm Lisa Feinstone, and I started at Chaits in 1955, right after, about a week after I was born. In New York City, I was brought to Accord in a box, apparently a shoe box, I've been told, and then I never left till I was 17, and then Chaits was gone, and I come back and visit. What else can you do? I'm glad to be here with all these old friends, and everybody is so familiar. And here's Laura. She came to join me on my little thing here, because she really wanted to. And
Thanks.
Hi, I'm Rich Moskowitz, and I worked at Chaits for more years than I can really remember. However, probably in the early 60s through late 70s, early 70s until the place closed, but I had a great time here. I don't remember all of it, which I think shows you what a great time I did have, but met a lot of good people here, had a lot of good times, and it's a place that never leaves you. So glad to be here, glad to see all the old friends, and hope we can do this again in another 40 years.
The air conditioning is 30 years ago we rehearsed. Chaits originally Earl Scruggs called Hero Dixon. It's sticky fingers. 40 years. Sticky.
That's Laura's talk. You can use that.
Other than that, it's going to be terrible, but we'll have fun. That's the bottom line.
Just play.
And it's out of tune. I'm sweating. Fix it. Going off.
He used to do this in the skit until he had the entire.
And I got a phone call. The light in my refrigerator just went out. I mean,
What makes you sleep so sound? Revenue officers are coming for to tear your schoolhouse Got one more verse?
You can always do the first one.
Last time I saw Max Finestone, he was walking out the door. He left his jokes in the pocket, but he had us all on the floor. Wake up, wake up, darling, sorry. What makes you sleep so sound? And revenue officers are coming for to tear your schoolhouse. One more time without any instruments. Let's hear what we sound like. Ready? Wake up, darling Corey. What makes you sleep so sound? The revenue officers are coming for to tear your still house And then out here, it's deadly. I do. She's okay? If I had a hammer, I'd hammer in the morning, I'd hammer in the evening, all over this land. Hammer out danger, I'd hammer out danger, hammer out a warning, I'd hammer out a warning. Yeah, that's what we hear. That's what we hear. Okay, we'll do it around the winter this land. I had a bell. If I had a bell, I'd ring it in the morning, I'd ring it in the evening, all over this land. I'd ring out danger, I'd ring out a warning, I'd ring out love between my brothers and my sisters, all over this land. If I had a song, if I had a song, I'd sing it. Did we do bell first? I'd sing it in the evening. Did we do song already? All over this land. I'd sing out danger. Oh yeah. I'd sing out warning. I'd sing out love between a lover and a woman. All five all over this land. I got a hammer, I got a hand, and I got a bell, I got a song to sing, and I got a song all over this land. It's the hammer of justice, justice. Oh, it's the bell of free, yeah, no. It's a song about love between my brothers and my sisters. It's the hammer of justice. It's the hammer of justice. Oh yeah. It's the bell of free. Yeah, 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 no. It's a song about love between my brothers and my sisters. All over this land. 40 years, 30 years, whatever. Some of you I've seen more recently. Oh, Vic?
Yep.
We just visited the women's dorm and found these up there.
So embarrassing.
Sorry, I'm sorry to do that in public, but what can I say?
That takes care of one story.
There you go.
One of many.
So basically, I wrote some stuff out, a few words. Vic said, say a few words, and a few words are not really my forte, with the emphasis on the meaning of a few. But and I'll self-edit here, but I picked out a few early episodes, and I also have some interactive stuff that I want to work on, like throw out some names and some incidents, and then let everybody close their eyes and remember their own guilt or innocence. First, I want to acknowledge some people, my grandparents, Sasha and Sarah Chait, whose spirits reside in the field not too far from here. Also want to acknowledge, of course, Max and Annette. Yeah. And they actually still reside in body and soul right here, so, you know, still alive and kicking. And finally, my bigger, and older brother, Vic. And because without his back surgery and the long Maine winter,
Right.
this wouldn't have happened. And this, over the past day and a half, has been, for me personally, fabulous. So, thank you, Vic.
Thank you, Larry.
Okay, so there's also somebody else that I want to acknowledge, but my earliest memories of actually working at the hotel come from the late, great social director, Stanley Myron Hamilton.
Volleyball, anyone? Volleyball?
And there's pictures of Stanley. Thank you, Barbara. But, and his best friend Gil, whose last name escapes me. If anybody remembers Gil, nobody seems to remember what his last name was. But, anyways, Gil and I did a show-stopping version of the Twist one night when I was very young. I remember twisting on his shoulders somewhere. And also with Stanley, I played the shooting arcade duck to his marksman. So that was my first actual working memory of Chaits. Yeah, Richie's crying out. And I remember Stanley's, a few of Stanley's limericks, and I'll read one inspired by Mac McGill. There once was a man named McGill who ran up and down a big hill. When people inquired, "Don't you get tired?" he said, "Nah."
And Larry, may I add to that? May I add the second one to that?
Yeah.
My dog, he was dying by inches, and dying by inches is hard. So I put him out in the alley and let him die by the yard.
Hey. Hey.
And thank you, Stan. But the one Chaits story that I really want to tell is about the time that buses were chartered to go to Washington, D.C. for the August 63 Civil Rights March.
And I was on that bus. Yes.
Well, I desperately wanted to go. I was 14 years old, and I worked setting tables for some waiters and cleaning up for some waiters for quarters and 50 cents so that I could gather enough money to get on the bus. And Max gave me some bellhop jobs. So I recall dragging bags that were heavier than me up the back steps behind the kitchen to the Laurels up there.
I remember when you were helping.
Yeah, and then this guy, and I remember this one particular one, 3 freaking heavy bags that I carried up there, and I'm sweating, and the guy hands me a quarter. Okay. So, I mean, I was pissed off, but it wasn't for a while that I realized something that was important going forward in my Chaits career. The Chaits clientele consisted of an amazing mix of progressive teachers, intellectuals, artists, writers, musicians, and other notoriously poor tippers. Okay, but there were a few doctors and, dentists and lawyers. So my realization was that to someone who picked a vacation spot from an ad in the Daily Worker, a quarter must have seemed like an equitable sharing of the wealth with the means of production. Okay? So that's why the dining room staff always fought over the lawyers and the doctors and the dentists. Because they obviously had much more disposable income. And there was at least the possibility of a generous tip. So that was one thing. But I digress. I got enough money to pay for the bus trip, and Paul Friedlander, cousin Andy Friedlander, Merrill, Rich Walter, who is not here, wanted to be here but could not be. They took me under their collective wings and down to that historic march. And I recall the singing on the bus, and I recall the Chaits group walking smack dab into a group of Hollywood celebrities. Charlton Heston, Burt Lancaster. Heston was there as well, though. Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr. I remember, and for all these years I thought, you know, I dreamed that. But that happened. And so every Martin Luther King Day now, I recall, when you see all the pictures of all that, I recall where we were standing. And I say, I was there. We were there, you know.
Yeah, but you don't remember that you left the net and I to serve the guests.
Well, okay. Richie, okay, wait. So, the following came from Rich Walter this week. Because I asked him, Rich, do you want me to say something for you? I told him I'd say it verbatim. So he's had some surgery, he couldn't be here, and this is what he sent me. I remember the trip to D.C. to join the Civil Rights Marchers on August 28, 1963. The generous Chaits guests took over for the staff, waited in bus tables, bellhopped, chambermaided, so that we staff, and some of the other staff certainly did the same, right? So that we staff could have the experience and support the cause. At what other hotel could that have happened? We met the bus at Poughkeepsie at something like 6 in the morning, schlepped to D.C., heard Dylan and Peter, Paul, and Mary, and most astonishingly, King's timeless, eternal, I Have a Dream Today speech. Scores of years later, it rings in my ears. I remember running into Frank Sinatra, Charlton Heston, of all people, Sammy Davis. I mean, look what happened to him, bastard. Excuse me. Sammy Davis and Burt Lancaster, among other stars who showed up that day. God bless them all. They weren't on the dais. They weren't acting like stars. They were just mixed in there together with the crowd. Chaits was in that era among the very few resorts that welcomed interracial couples. Given that fact, plus its progressive orientation, I changed the answer to the old riddle, what's black and white and red all over? The traditional answer, of course, in newspaper. My new version's answer, Chaits. We got home early the next morning, just in time to set up and serve the next day's breakfast. Nobody complained when we dragged our asses a little that day or served string beans when the order was clearly for lima beans. So that's from Richie Walter. Okay, so anyway, Vic asked for photos and or memorabilia for that time, and I see a lot of you brought some, and it's just great. And I would expect that most of you are in the same boat of me only having memories, and some of them suspect, but memories nonetheless. So I think the best thing to do is to throw out some names and phrases and let each of and every one of you conjure up your own images and stories. Some things will be meaningful only to a few, and I would like it to be interactive. With this crowd, what could it, it couldn't be anything else but interactive. So. First, I'd like to start with Annette's missing glasses and keys.
Never found.
Always. Annette came in this morning, and the first thing she said is, "Where are my glasses?" Honest to God. Max's loudspeaker announcements, including Din Din with Lyndon. Where's Neil? There he is. Cousin Carl Waxman telling campers his funny stories down by the swings. I don't know who remembers Carl. Probably not too many. You remember Carl Waxman? Richie Walter remembered Carl Waxman.
He's younger than I am.
Half the dining room staff wandering into the lobby at night wearing sunglasses.
Yes, we did.
Midnight buffets. Yeah, there's Max's.
The original.
I'm sure the wait staff remembers midnight buffets.
But do you remember the one time when Sylvia Brown wanted me to make the chopped liver sculptures, and I really didn't want to do it anymore, so I made one of a skull with maraschino cherries for the eyes. The last time she ever asked me to do it.
The Weavers singing Wake Up, Darling Corey.
Paul Friedlander. Let's have a hand for Paul Friedlander.
Oh, well, you know, wait a minute. Paul's was at 2 o'clock in the morning. That's different. Yeah, no. Stjav, borscht, and fruit soup. Enough said.
Say no more.
Well, no, I do have something to say about that. I think the stjav didn't bother me so much as the way the glass looked after it was done.
So true.
I think that's what got to me. Oh, and the cocktail parties, of course. The hors d'oeuvre tray decoys targeting the bungalowers. And Vic would come in because he was 6'4", and Gary, because they were both tall, and they'd come in like this. Right? So the bungalowers would flock towards the tray, and there's nothing on the tray. And then somebody would go in the other door with hors d'oeuvres. It was brilliant.
This was the original guerrilla warfare.
Max's screwdrivers in Manhattan's. Where's Max? Ah, there it is.
Martinis in Manhattan.
Yeah, the martinis. Yeah, okay. See, I told you,
Screwdrivers.
memories are suspect.
Now screwdrivers too.
Okay, how many remember the old main building with the enclosed porch and the old recreation hall with the snack bar down there? Show of hands, show of hands. Oh, man, lots. More than that?
How about the old
It was.
And the old dining room, there you go. Oh, yes, the kids' dining room.
Infant's dining room.
And that was the kitchen. The infant's dining room was the kitchen from the old house.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Okay, this one is very, very targeted. Nam Yoho Rengekyo. Richard and Paula Moed and Nay Izu.
And Bunky.
And
And
Bunky.
Bunky.
That's right. I told you it was very targeted. Okay. But those of us involved understand.
Somewhat.
Ship's Galley. Ship's Galley.
Yeah.
Here for ships.
That's in Audrey.
How much was a picture of beer at Ship's Galley at that time?
I don't
Bucket
know.
a quarter. Bucket a quarter. 15 cents for a short one, a quarter for a big one.
That's right. Yep.
Wow.
Quarter for the pool table.
Right.
Yep. Put your quarter on the table.
Okay, this is a little later. Maybe you would remember this. I think delivering dinners to the nudists in the Laurels. Who remembers delivering dinner to the nudists in the Laurels? Neil?
You were the only one that got to do that, Larry.
You were
Yeah,
special.
that's why I thought Keith and Gary would. I don't know.
They'll never admit it.
Nobody's copping to it. I remember that. Okay. Not to mention the therapist sessions up there too. Oh, man. Changing tires in the garage after dinner. Anybody?
Yes.
Yo, Neil. Oh, you know nothing.
Neil's heard about all of this. He never really worked here. Okay, moving tables for folk dancing.
Oh.
I remember.
Girl.
I also remember it because it's how I met my wife.
There you go. Oh, that's right.
I remember
right.
because Annette was ready to throw me out of the hotel because I wasn't going to come back to set my station.
Okay.
She marked all the tables with chalk. So
My aunt?
No, not Annette.
The short-lived, thank God, outside barbecue dining.
1 year.
Yeah, well, I was there for that year, okay? That's why I say short-lived, thank God. You don't remember?
I do. I think, where was it?
Well, it was out on the patio. We had to move all the tables
Oh, the
outside,
luau's,
all
right?
the food outside.
That was
and
my
everything.
birthday.
That was the luau.
Was that for your birthday?
Yeah, we had,
Curse you, Max!
we had the Mexican lanterns.
Oh, yeah.
She had to have some use for them.
God. That was a pain in the ass, let me tell you. Okay, Al Greenberg's Marx Brothers movies.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Swimming in the pond.
Some of us.
Esther Brooks swimming in the pond right to the very end in the nude. And she was what, 85? Oh!
Esther Brooks.
Esther Brooks.
Esther Brooks, orange and sixths. You remember that? She
What?
always wanted her orange cut into sixths.
Oh. Esther Brooks. Talent Night, of course. And the Side Towels. Both original and latter day. So the Side Towels were Paul Friedlander, Rich Walter,
Chuck Beal.
Chuck Beeler were the originals, and didn't Andy sing
Andy
once in a
too.
while?
Occasionally, when we let him.
Okay. And then afterwards, the name survived, and there was Neil, and Richard, and Ronald, and sometimes Mitch Sokolsky.
Yeah.
Yeah. I gotta know, yeah. So it must. So it's not just me. Okay.
I thought it was more than sometimes, but that's okay.
This is an obscure one, but I remember this. Leonid Hambro.
Yes, yes. Oh, yeah.
Playing a few bars of the piano that was the upright piano that was in the children's dining room. And he stood up and he went over and he opened it and he looked in and he pulled out one of the hammers. And he said, I guess I won't be playing that note tonight. Leonid Hambro, if you don't know, Leonid Hambro was the practice pianist, I believe, for the New York Philharmonic and a very accomplished playing on the stand-up piano in the children's dining room of Chaits.
Did Victor Borgia play Chaits?
No.
I don't think
No.
Hambro played
With him. That's
Right.
That's right. I know this connection. Okay.
Okay, and here's some other musicians. Stanley and Naomi Drucker
Oh, yeah.
and Blanche Abrams.
Yeah.
And there was a guy named George Merdikian who was the world's foremost oud player. Yeah.
Right.
And I saw him play at Carnegie Hall.
Lucky you.
To think, one night, George and I sat in the pit drinking ouzo, and I played guitar accompaniment behind his ouzo. I mean, behind
It hasn't worn off yet.
behind his oops, or whatever it's called. And I remember my hands were flying like they've never flown before. It was one of the high experiences of my life. And the other thing is, Stan and Naomi and Blanche playing a Schubert trio, the two clarinets and piano, and me lying on the floor underneath, one of the most magical musical things right there in the
I mean, world-class,
Incredible.
and they're still world-class musicians.
And we saw Stanley Drucker playing in Rhinebeck a couple of years ago. He's the oldest member of the New York Philharmonic.
Wow.
Been there for 15 years.
And they came here for a while. I remember
And we
him.
put them in the four-room bungalow. Their family and Blanche's family. And they had a ball. Remember what the four-room bungalow looked like?
Yeah.
The one on the side to the back. Right.
The Willows.
Right. The one down below. The one went down below. No, what's the stamp song? What's the stamp song? It was like right. I don't know.
Well, I just have a memory of Stanley playing poker in the lobby, and that was the year that there were a number of musicians, aspiring musicians and musical students hired to be the staff. And one of them, Artie somebody was playing piano.
Carson.
Yes, Artie Carson.
Yes, Artie Carson.
He was
Yes,
playing piano,
yeah,
right?
perfect, yeah.
And he was playing a Beethoven sonata. And he's, you know, he's playing and playing. And Stanley is there playing poker. And he's got his cards and people are bidding and he's throwing it. And he says, B flat! So,
B flat.
B flat. Earl Robinson, singing The House I Live In and directing the Ballad for Americans and the Chaits Choir. Now I have actually a CD that I brought of that, you know, a recording of that concert and the Ballad for Americans, which is 1966. Does anybody remember Fred Willard doing improv in the pit? I do.
Really?
I do. He was part of an improv group. There were 2 or 3 people, and one of them was Fred Willard. And I remember, when I was on the road in the music business, I ran into him in a club in Philadelphia doing improv, and I remember saying, "Oh my God!" And I reminded him of Chaits, and he said, "Oh yeah, he remembers the performance." Okay, this is a very personal memory. Renee Traum, Wendy Lauder, and Fern Moy. Al Crone. No, wait.
Yes.
You remember Al Crone? I'll go back, Wendy Lauder. Does anybody remember Wendy?
Sure.
My first kiss.
Do you remember?
No. Yes. Yes, I do. Where's Renee? Oh, okay, good. Al Crone, teaching me to set for him in volleyball. So Al, I was this little thing, and they'd have these very serious volleyball games with Bernie Brody, and all these people were very serious about volleyball, and I was about, yay high, and Al would always pick me to be on their team because he taught me to set for him, and that's all I did. I just set for him and watched him slam it down everybody's throats, and he was good.
Let me add to that, Larry. Al was a very wonderful, generous man. His wife, Sophie, they lived near Philadelphia, mainline Philadelphia. And I was one of his many proteges on the volleyball courts, and I took to it. And he was such a generous person. I used to go from New York to Philadelphia, where he would take me out to his various, if we were poker players, he would take me out to the various poker games. But in this case, he had all these volleyball games lined up, and he'd take his little protege out to the volleyball matches so I could set him so he could slam the ball. Al.
And his son David. David Crone.
Well, we want to get the desserts and coffees out here. I mean, we can get dessert and coffee and then continue, or,
Let's do that.
All right, because they want to go home.
I'm loving this. What are you talking about?
Stick around. Stick around. It's only $59 a head.
Which reminds me of when we clean the table and they'd still be talking, and then we take the tablecloth off and they'd still be talking, and then we move the table and there are 8 people sitting there in a circle looking at each other, and then they'd leave. Where's Paul? Oh, Paul's gone.
No, he's just wandering. He'll be back.
Well, there's one that he reminded me of that I was supposed to say, but I'll wait for Paul, because he was a principal in the debauchery, and would need to have him here for that. But I will go on to the Radin, Penchansky, and Gross table. We fought over the Radin, Penchansky, and Gross table. And Chili Penchansky, Chili Penchansky would order cake and then flatten it with his hand. And we all waited to see Chili flatten his cake before dinner could go on.
Nesserole pie.
Nesserole pie, okay. And Chili would also order a cup of tea in a glass. I remember that. The Maryland contingent cheering when Spiro Agnew was selected to be on the ticket with Nixon because they would be getting rid of him. I remember that well. They were huddled around the TV upstairs watching all that go on, and you could only see snow, but you could hear Spiro Agnew, and they were going, yes! Garbage Bob. Anybody remember Garbage Bob?
There were several Garbage Bobs.
Well, the original Garbage Bob, who actually was named Bob.
What about the man that lived in the haunted house down there?
We're getting there, we're getting there, we're
Can I
getting
say
there.
one word about Jim Lucas? I specifically remember Jim Lucas disappeared for at least 3 days, maybe it was 3 weeks. And when he showed up at the front desk, Max said, as anyone would say, Jim, where have you been? And Jim pointed out that a good man is hard to find.
Thank you,
Larry, what's the reverse of that?
What?
The reverse of that is that
No, we're not. We're not. I'm not going there, Rainey. Okay. This is a very vivid memory of Max telling Neil to check a never hired kitchen man into room 209.
You have to tell the rest of the story.
Well,
Neil took the guy up to the dormitory. He was a little bit 3 sheets to the wind. Came back down and said, "This man wants a private room." Take him down to room 209.
Room 209, that's right. Which Max highway. That's the highway. And Neil dutifully took him to room 209. Yeah. Dropped him off. Not a problem. Okay, Timmy Dixon and They're Coming to Take Me Away. Huh? Mark, that was for you. That was for you. The Arts and Crafts Shack. Who could forget the Arts and Crafts Shack?
Clara Perry.
Mac
Don't
McGill.
know that it was also the drying shack in the fall.
Oh, wow.
Lisa, actually, most of us do know that.
Yes. Some of us know that, Lisa. Not all of us.
It's just for a couple of years.
Okay, now here are a couple of chef names. Mac McGill. Henry Perry.
Reverend Henry Perry.
Reverend
No,
Henry.
I'm sorry, I hear Max booing, but Max, you have to understand that Henry, after one Saturday dinner, in which, if you remember, he served shrimp cocktail, and no little shrimps in those days. These are jumbo shrimps, good cocktails. And for some reason, a lot of people didn't have it that night. So next day, I came up to Henry and said, "Hey, Henry," or that evening, I said, "Hey, Henry, we're having a little party down at the staff house. You think you might be able to donate some of those shrimp to this?" Henry gave us 5 pounds of cooked shrimp and made the cocktail sauce for us.
He was trying to take it home with him.
Yeah, well, maybe so, but we got it.
I have to add to that. The
big pay up now.
He was going to take home.
Oh, he was going to get it.
He did with the beef every week.
Okay, so that's why Max booed.
But I would
Okay,
just like to
now-
remind, this was not just dining room staff party. The counselors were down there. We had everybody. We all shared and shared.
So it was okay.
Yeah.
It was a plot.
Ted Levine. Okay,
These
Ted
parties didn't
Levine.
get good until you guys.
Sylvia and Ray.
62, something like that.
You got to start over.
Where were you guys?
We were tuning up, in air conditioning.
Okay. Bill Crookshank and his nervous knives. Okay. And one of my favorite Bill Crookshank stories is Neil walking in on his day off in the middle of the busiest breakfast, and Bill had sort of not come down from the night before, and he made eggs Benedict for Neil at the height of the breakfast rush. And Neil was the bellhop garbage guy, right?
Larry got to interrupt again. I'm going to give up my time later on because this is also This is also a Bill Cruikshank story, and this was a New Year's Eve dinner, and some of you may remember Herbie Jones, who was the porter. Herbie was a really dark black man, and he was our porter, and he mumbled a lot. He was an alcoholic like everybody else, but he was great when he was sober. He was great when he was sober, and he was a neat guy. Anyway, he and Bill Cruikshank, for those that don't know him, was tall, very blonde, almost white hair. He was ice blue eyes, and he was an alcoholic, so there was a lot of red lines through his face. He was our chef at the time, and he and Herbie got into some squabble, and the two of them were rolling around on the ground, fighting. And I stepped in and grabbed one, and Annette was all dressed up in her New Year's Eve finery, and she and I wrestled Herbie over against the cooler, the old wooden cooler in the kitchen. And Annette's holding him there, and Herbie's going, "I'll kill him! I'll kill him! I'll kill him!" And while he's there, all of a sudden there's this whack, and a butcher knife that long smacks into the cooler that far to the left of Herbie's head and that far above Annette's head. Herbie turned the color of that sheet, and Annette ran from the room screaming, and Bill stood there like this, saying, "Right where I aimed it."
Hey, Richie, I have a story about Kenny and Bill Cruikshank, because Bill said one midnight buffet, he said no cookies. I don't care who wants cookies, no cookies go out.
That's right.
And I had a really good table, and this guy said, "I want some cookies." And there was a drawer in the pantry that had the cookies, the pull-out drawer. So I'm looking around, no problem, no problem. I go over, I pull the drawer out, I get a plate, I put some cookies on, I'm closing the drawer, and a knife comes slamming down right next to the drawer. And he said, "I said no cookies." And it was your brother who told me to get the damn cookies. So it's because of him I almost lost some fingers.
And by the way, all of you that worked as counselors, this is why you weren't paid as much as we were.
Chef Mangabang. Remember him again?
I don't remember.
He was the craziest guy you ever met. I was a young kid. I was working for, I can't remember the fellow's name, I was a busboy. He says, "Rich, wouldn't the kitchen get too main?" Whatever it was. And I'm coming out, and he says, "You're not supposed to take mains out of here. Send your waiter in." I had my hand, and I pushed the door open, and the next thing I hear, "Thud." I turn around, the door swings back, and there's a knife sticking in the door. And Annette comes running in, and I ran in the kitchen. I was a pretty big guy. I jumped right over the hot table, and he went running out the door, and that was the last we saw him. Remember that? We ended up cooking that night, you and I. He laughed.
All right, let's keep going. Toothless Herman doing the New York Times crossword puzzle in pen, and nobody ever checked to see if it was right.
Unbelievable.
Herman was a pot watcher. He was a kitchen man. Jim Lucas, who was mentioned, fixing just about everything with chewing gum and coat hangers, right? And playing the piano late at night sometimes. Yeah, that's right. Bob Francis, who remembers Bob Francis? Bob Francis was a porter who taught me how to play pool, and then he taught me how to hustle pool, too. He was good. Artie Winter and Herbie Jones. Artie Winter.
Nitnaw.
And finally, no, that was Artie Winter. Okay, now, remember every place in Chaits that was used as staff quarters. Okay, well, I'll start with the upstairs, over the patio. Okay, nothing ever happened up there. Rooms in the patio, the stone staff house, either side of the stage in the casino. Stage left, stage right.
Don't forget the rooms behind the old infants' dining room behind the kitchen. There was a room behind there, too.
Behind the old infants' dining room, okay. In front of the casino, so there was a room, like a porch room up the casino where Neil and Richie and I, yes, you, spent some time.
On the other side, Jimmy Van Allen had the concession where we used to steal soda.
Jimmy Van Allen had the concession. At the casino, right? And Vic ran it too.
Yeah, you still got a lot of money coming. Do you want to play?
The Willows. The Annex. Okay, anybody stay at the Annex? The Pines. And finally, which was my favorite, Maple 7.
Maple 7. The scene of many infamous crimes.
Now, Maple 7 was off the porch in the Maples. And we generally only stayed there in the dead of winter. And the only bathrooms were inside the Maples building. Enough said.
They were never used. I don't like where this is going.
No, it's already gone. It has come and gone, Max.
Max, we just went down and looked, and it's gone.
It's gone. It's gone. Okay. Paul reminded, I was waiting for Paul to be out here because Paul reminded me, I have just this one more thing to say. It's 2 words. The party. Okay. And those of you who are involved in the party, remember it. And Paul referred to it when we talked about wake up, darling Corey at 2 in the morning. And now I want to finish with a poem that I wrote. And I wrote it back in the 60s sometime when I emceed some of the talent nights. And it goes like this. Chaits is a wonderful place. Guests folk dance expertly. They do not plod. The food and the waiters will put a smile on your face. The flonkin is great, but I'd rather get scrod.
Max, we're ready for you.
Never gets screwed. Never gets like the fish and screw. I actually didn't need to.
No, but you just needed to hear it.
Yeah, I have a few things to say. First place,
What's your name? Yeah, who are you?
First place, Larry, at the beginning of his presentation, said that he worked at Chaits. He never worked at Chaits. He was the founder's grandson. He didn't have to work. He came and hung around. And but then I have a complaint. There are all of these ex-waiters here. What happened? I had to go up and get my own dinner. I think somebody would say, "Hey, Mac, what can I get?" Anyway, needless to say, I don't know. This is really overwhelming for me. It's such a wonderful thing, such a wonderful thing to have all of you people here. And I wish there were some others whom we remember fondly who couldn't be here for various reasons. But, we'll take what we got. And I want to thank Vic for thinking of this and organizing it. And I want to thank our caterer for a wonderful spread. And Mark has a nice restaurant in New Paltz, and if you're ever there, what's the name of the restaurant?
Harvest Cafe.
Thank you. Are you sure?
Thank you very much, everybody. It was a great party.
Thank you.
Well, Annette and I were talking when this thing was being planned and we realized it was going to happen. How could we get?
Speak up.
How could we get something out of this for ourselves, aside of just meeting all these people again? So we came up with this idea, and I don't know whether Vic told you about it. There'll be a $10 parking fee.
Wait a minute.
A $10 bathroom charge.
$10 bathroom charge.
This isn't by the hour. This is which we think is fair. And also, you know, some of you may want to use the facilities, and we want to make sure that you feel free to do so, that you're welcome. However, there's a $3 fee for using either of the bathrooms downstairs or upstairs. If you decide to wander into the executive bathroom, that'll be $5.
Hey, Max, can I ask a question?
The ghost of Jim Lucas will be there collecting the money. What did you say? No, Vic.
I was just going to ask a question. Is that just for setting foot in there, or is that per flush?
Yeah, if you decide to take a shower, hey. Especially Lorraine.
Definitely number one.
You know, this has been a wonderful experience, this whole Chaits experience for me. I feel very, very fortunate to have had the opportunity to live here, to be in the business that we were in. And I think, as most of you know, there was a Chaits long before there was a Finestone. Annette and her sister Dorothy grew up down the hill in the old farmhouse down there. And through the years, they helped their parents with the business. And at one time, it became obvious that Sasha and Sarah could no longer continue operating this place. And I didn't have a regular job. And we had 2 kids, I think one kid and another one on the way. And Annette very reluctantly, and they asked us to come up and help them. And Annette reluctantly agreed to do that. And I'm very, very grateful to her for doing so, because she was not too happy about it, at least at the beginning. But I want to have her come up here now and say a few words. Annette here.
While Annette is coming up, I want to point out that Stanley Chait is here, and is, I believe, the only one here with the name Chait.
Except for
Eva.
Eva's
Oh, Eva,
middle
that's
name.
right. It's,
Eva
the
Chaits
name goes on.
Your middle name is Chaits?
Eva, I thought it was chaste.
No, Carl, no.
So much of what I was thinking of saying, Larry said. I would have said it a little differently. But I just want to say, I grew up here. I think when my father bought this place, I was a toddler, maybe 3 or 4 years of age. And I have this recollection of my father standing with a man by the name of Charles Anderson, looking out in that direction over the fields and the ridge, and talking about the place. And my father and Charles Anderson shook hands, and that was purchased Chaits on a handshake. At that time, where the tennis courts are, or were, there were 2 barns. One of the barns was moved back and turned into your wonderful recreational area, the staff recreational area that they talk about so much. And with Annette racing down like 2 o'clock in the morning to find out what in the hell was going on.
By the way, that was the party. That was the party.
And then I remember, you think you guys had fun. We had, when I was little also, we used to use a couple of the rooms in the barn, the staff, for the dining room staff. The dining room staff consisted of maybe 2 waiters. And we had 2 guys who every once in a while we had our little fun, you had your big fun. And I must say, I'm overwhelmed with the fact that you all felt it so important and so wonderful for you to come together. Where else, what other place would have had a staff like you? I think you're wonderful.
You mean Grossingers wasn't like this?
I'm not delivering my usual brilliant presentation, just remember down at the hotel, because my speechwriter is on vacation right now. And I think he's moonlighting for John McCain. My guess is that he's sabotaging. I mean, otherwise, how could somebody like Senator McCain not know that Czechoslovakia hasn't existed for 50 years? But anyway, no, this is a really special occasion and brings back some really wonderful memories. And I think for all of us, we're so glad that you did come up here. And hope it'll happen again, Vic.
Yes, well, we certainly hope so. People have asked me about it, and I've said, absolutely, your turn.
Yeah. But you know, there's one thing I want to conclude with. I noticed a few gray heads around here. And, so I think maybe some of you are looking forward to those wonderful golden years. And if so, I do have something that I want to tell you about. And believe me, I speak from experience. The golden years are here at last. I cannot pee, I cannot see, I cannot chew, I cannot screw. My memory stinks. My eyesight stinks, and so forth. I had the paper poem with me. I don't have it with me anymore. Anyway, the last two lines are, the golden years have come to pass. The golden years can kiss my
You should conclude.
That doesn't matter. Well, then I'll do this. You want to tell the party story, or should I?
I'll just broach it, and then you conclude. You're the master of ceremonies, so.
Well, this is not the conclusion quite yet, but almost. Because I do want to acknowledge, I know that a lot of the talk here has been about the dining room. The counselors did the yeoman's job, and they worked their asses off. They worked hard. They had to deal with a bunch of kids, some of them okay, some of them not so okay. They had to deal with the parents, some of them okay, some of them not so okay. They were paid shit. They ate okay, but they had to eat with the kids, so how good could that be? However, there's some great counselors, and I'd just like to mention one, and that's my cousin Stanley. Stanley was my counselor when I was just a little kid. Stanley was there, and I can't, was it Morris or Bernie? It was Morris, right? Wasn't that his name, Morris? And Stanley and Morris were our two counselors. Now, Morris was, you couldn't put anything over on him, nothing. But we had a thing called, there were a couple of games that we played during quiet time, which was the humming game and the staring game. The humming game, and both of them had the same object, which was whoever cracked up first was the loser. I always tried to get Stanley. He couldn't keep a straight face to save his life. And he still can't. So, to all the counselors that are here, you provided the kids with a great time, and you provided us with a great time. We love you all.
And furthermore, we have an unveiling. I know some of you have seen this already, but Richard Moskowitz is kind enough to put together t-shirts for everybody. Chaits Hotel. They're $8 a piece. We have mediums and larges if we run out.
An extra large.
Oh,
An extra large for those who may need them.
$10. $10. $10.
No.
12. For me.
$8. $8.
$8 bucks.
$8.
15.
Whatever.
See you later. And whose are these?
Yours.
No.
Annette's.
No.
Laura carries on the tradition.
Yeah, right.
Annette and Dorothy. Where are my glasses?
Laura, do you have pens for signing those T-shirts?
Oh, I didn't think of that. That's a great idea.
Find them on and walk around the people.
Do you have a couple of more minutes in you?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
I was here just as a busboy in '62 and as a waiter in '63. Richie Walter is my busboy. Richie is not here. Richie went on to college. He went to Harper and then found his way to Los Angeles, where he went to film school at USC with Lucas and Spielberg, and where he wrote the original treatment for American Graffiti. So it didn't get filmed. The Bergmans finally had the screenplay, but Richie has, for the last few decades, been the head of the screenwriting department at UCLA. Unfortunately, the funniest guy I know can't be here with you, but I thought I would share where he was and what he was doing. I just have two brief memories. The first one is 1963, is getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning on August 28th and driving to Kingston, where we met the buses that were organized by the NAACP. And I was looking through the stuff to put in a safety deposit box, and I found my name tag, Paul Friedlander, Accord, New York, number 13. I didn't bring it with me. But, so, I'm sitting in the aisle. It was the era of smoking, right? So, my cousin Andy Friedlander, and this Chaits is very special to us, because Andy and I grew up. I was upstairs, Andy's family, 2 brothers after the war, bought a house in Queens. My father, our family upstairs, his father, and his family downstairs. Andy was 3.5 years younger than me, and therefore, he was not worth the effort. He was a little pipsqueak. The summer of 1963, Andy got a job as a counselor here. I was a waiter here, and we fell in love and have been like this ever since. So I wanted to thank Chaits for that, coming together in our family. Andy couldn't be here, but Andy sat across the aisle on the bus going down to Washington. He smoked Marlboros. I smoked Marlboros. When Andy fell asleep, he fell asleep with his head back and his mouth open. Andy smoked Marlboros? We'll give him Marlboros. We took one cigarette and put it in his right nostril. We took another cigarette and put it in his left nostril. We put one cigarette in the right part of his mouth, the other cigarette in the left part of his mouth, one in the right ear, one in the left ear. And when Andy woke up, needless to say, he was very surprised. So that's what I remember. Aside from Andy was on my shoulders when Martin Luther King gave his I Have a Dream speech in front of the podium. And that was very special. Later that evening, later that summer, we had the party.
The party.
The party. I don't know whether Max and Annette remember the party.
I do.
And I don't know how many details are important to this party, but needless to say, the theme song for the party was "She Left Out Through the Bathroom Window."
After the fact.
After the fact. The rec hall floor was very clean because it was being washed with about 2 inches of beer. And Annette came down to inspect the floor,
Well, wait a minute.
Well,
she didn't come down to inspect. She was invited by one, wait, it's coming to me, Paul Friedlander, who happened to put on Wake Up Darling Corey on this loudspeaker system at 1 o'clock in the morning.
we all love the Weavers. And the first side of the Weavers at Carnegie Hall, Volume 1, Darling Corey. We especially loved the Weavers that night at 2:30 in the morning. And so we went up to the main house.
Who is this we?
We went into the office. We took out the album. The same PA system that Max uses for announcements. We turned the volume up so everybody could love the Weavers. And we put on Darling Corey at 2:30 in the morning. Annette loved, so she came down to see how we had done in cleaning the floor in the rec room. Well, nobody wanted to take credit for it, and so most of the people left by the back window. And if you have other embellishments.
Well, I mean, it was very straightforward. Wake Up Darling Corey came over the loudspeaker, and we were all down there saying, yeah, and continued the party. And there were a number of people there who no longer worked at the hotel. They were not invited, but they showed up. And they were the ones that spilled all the beer. So I was standing there. I had actually had to stop working in the middle of summer because I tore up my left knee. But I had come back down because I was bored witless in Potsdam. So I was there on my crutches, my leg all in a cast. And I'm standing there, and all of a sudden I hear there's this apparition appearing at the door, and oh my God, what's going on? And there was Annette in her bathrobe and slippers. And I crouched over there and blocked the doorway before she could move one step further and said, "Nothing, Annette, I'll take care of it." And crouched her out the door. I mean, she was beside herself. No, you didn't. I moved you out of the door, back up the hill. I walked with you all the way up to the main house because I went to gather some people that I happen to know were up in the girls' dorm. And came back, but when you appeared there with that, oh my God, what's going on? All hell broke loose in that place. People were scattering in every direction, and if some of you remember, there were two small bathrooms at the bottom of the stage in the back of the casino. And people were flying out through those tiny little windows, about 5 feet off the ground. And that was the party. We eventually got it cleaned up, but I mean, you know, yeah, I know that from Max and Annette's point of view, this was not fun. And from our point of view, the next morning, it wasn't fun either, but it was memorable.
The only thing I objected to, I wasn't invited.
Well, you know, Paul intended that, as I say, that record to be your invitation. That's it, buddy. We're done. I think it's music time.
Yeah,
I think it's music time.
I'd just like to say something.